Hello everyone. A very good morning to all respected dignitaries, honorable guest speakers, teachers from all over globe, and my dear students, friends and participants. On behalf of Botany for You, an online platform for the students of life sciences, myself, Dr. Pitambar Humne, founder Botany for You, welcome you all in this 2 days international webinar and inauguration of National Teachers Organization in Life Sciences organized on 10th and 11th August 2020. Today, I take the pleasure of introducing our keynote speaker, Dr. Surendra Singh, Director, University Institute of Vocational Studies and Skill Development Center, Rani Durgavati University, Jabalpur, MP, India. Sir did his FBS, FNRS, MSc and PhD in botany from BHU Varanasi and also Commonwealth Postdoctoral Fellow in Microbiology, University of Dundee, Scotland, UK in 1989 to 90. In his 31 years of teaching experience and 37 years of research experience, 15 students were awarded PhD and 8 students are working on their PhD under his able guidance. 16 MPhil and 90 MSc students received their degree under his supervision. Sir has supervised 6 research projects, published 60 research papers, 4 books, 15 review articles. Sir has attended more than 100 conferences, seminars, workshops, etc. Sir has the honor of visiting scientists as Jacob Molluscan Institute of Desert Research, Ben Gurion University, Negev, Israel in 1998-99 and Institute of Hydrobiology, Chinese Academy of Sciences, Wuhan, China in 2007. Presently, Sir is the Director of UGC Community College Coordinator, Career Guidance, Counseling, Training and Placement Cell, Nodal Officer, Skill Development Center and Chairman of Central Board of Studies in Botany, Government of MP and Coordinator of MPCSP Cell. Nonetheless, he has also decorated the post of ex-director of Distance Education, University Institute of Management and Commerce, R&D section, Hash Biotech Lab Private Limited, Chandigarh from 2008 to 2011. Sir has also the ex-dean of Sir was also the ex-dean of Students Welfare, ex-chairman Board of Studies in Botany, ex-chief technology officer, Oxford Algetech, Oxford, UK. Sir was the former principal of Technical Advisor, IIMSAM and Spirulina Please Campaign, IIMSAM, United Nations. We feel honored to have such a multi-dynamic and multifaceted personality with us today as a keynote speaker for this international webinar. We welcome to you, sir. I would like to request Professor Surendra Singh sir to deliver his keynote address. Thank you.
First of all, I'm grateful and thankful to Dr. Pitambar Humaneji, the founder for Botany for You and Associate Professor and Head Department of Botany, Dharmapet MP Dev Memorial Science College, Nagpur, and all of his colleagues for inviting me to this prestigious international seminar, and also the National Teachers Organization in Life Sciences. So first of all, I would like to announce that National Science Teachers Organization's Life Sciences is stand inaugurated today and now. So this is a great pleasure for me to associate with this organization, and also such kind of platform was needed particularly for the students of botany and the life sciences in India, because I am being the students of MSc and PhD in botany from Banaras Hindu University, and after coming over to Rani Durgavati University in 1989, let me tell you that I have been asked by my former head of the department that I must teach the microbiology and also the biotechnology. So these two subjects at that time were not much prevalent during my days in 80s when I was doing in botany. So that challenge was given to me that I must teach the virology, the environmental microbiology, the environmental biotechnology, then biochemistry, and so on. Except the botany, I was asked to teach all those subjects. So I took that challenge and then decided that certainly I will go through, and I started teaching these subjects of MSc in microbiology and MSc in biotechnology. So, now you can see that for the last 31 years or so, I have been teaching the MSc in microbiology and MSc in biotechnology rather than MSc in botany. So the subject itself demands that much more is needed to be done for the students of botany, at least particularly in India and in our state, like in Madhye Pradesh and Maharashtra and others, people are doing so much things. But what is required, this platform, the Botany for You, is really excellent and marvelous. And I must appreciate and congratulate the whole team member that they have thought of having such an organization of Botany for You. And then also the National Teachers Organization in Life Sciences. So I think that this organization will go far ahead and will cater the demand of the nation by the student of botany and also by the teachers of the botany and the life sciences as well. So what is required as much? Because most of us, if you look into the botany, that most of the botany teachers, what they can do in the area of research, that is a real research, actual research, not this the research which has no use and utility. So the real time has come for our country that we must go for Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan as announced by our great Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji. So we must stick to that. Now time has come for all our Indians that we must do the real cutting edge technological research. Particularly in the field of life sciences. Now this pandemic is going on and we, the student of life sciences, need to do something more. Why we are lagging behind in the vaccine development? Even the students of microbiology, they are not well trained. Even the staff is not well trained to take the samples, to take the identify the microorganisms. So you can see that what is the status of microbiology itself in the country, that we do not have such an organization and a single organization where immediately one can take the sample and go and identify the causal organism, not for this COVID-19, but any microorganisms. Look into that. We take long time to identify and most of time we are unable to identify till the patient goes off. So do we have such an particular set of organization in our states here and there where we can really go and identify even in the private sector or in the government sector? So both are very much required, that at least the study of microbiology should be in such a way that students and teachers must be trained in such a way that they can identify the microorganisms, the basic microorganisms, bacteria, virus, fungi, and protozoa, and so on and so forth. So what I see that where we are lacking in the taxonomic area. Even the student, as a teacher of the plants on the botanist, we are unable to identify the plants growing in our backyard. In and around, we don't know the names of the plants because the taxonomy is become so poor that when we are not able to identify what we can expect from the layman and for the other people. When we are talking about we must have the various kind of medicinal plants and we should. So yesterday I was delivering a lecture in one of the college in Uttarakhand, and where the Botanical Survey of India's director and others people were there, I requested them that at least give 5 to 10 medicinal and aromatic plants. Please distribute it to the local community, train them, and make them aware, and so that they can identify and they can pass on this information to the next generation. So at least they will be aware, and this will be a kind of XC2 conservation of the plants. Okay, we have the conservation, we are doing the conservations in forest and in biospheres and in zoological parks, and the government is doing. But what about our society? They should also know. So when the taxonomy has gone so poor, even the people, they do not they are unable to, students are identify the cyanobacterial species. I have been working for the last 30-35 years on the microalgae, the cyanobacteria, and I was in one of the university and taking some visiting lecture, and I asked that particular teacher, why don't you isolate cyanobacteria? So she said, sir, we don't have cyanobacteria in and around. I said, why? Look into your one of the flower plots. Lot of cyanobacteria was growing in the soil. But even the professor was not taught, was not aware of that. So how they can teach that this is available in our, even in the department? We can isolate and purify and identify and then go for a biotechnological applications of the cyanobacteria. So what I am trying to emphasize that one of the area where we need to work as a teacher of life sciences and botany is the taxonomy, is the identification of the plants, the identification of the animals, the identification of microbes. Because when we talk about the biodiversity, biodiversity does not mean the higher plant conservation. Biodiversity includes the plant biodiversity, the animal biodiversity, and the microbial biodiversity. So we must keep in the mind that we have to give the equal emphasis on all those three components. And I have seen that less emphasis is given particularly on microbial diversity, on the conservation and the management of the microbial, where the microbes are playing very important role in our environment, in our soil. Everything is dependent upon them. They are the important component. So we must develop such a technology wherein even in our colleges, we must give this emphasis that we should isolate the microorganisms, particularly the bacteria, some cyanobacteria, fungi, and the viruses. Let me tell you, this field is very much neglected. The isolation, purification, and characterization of the viruses. Many of us don't know the actual basic techniques of the isolation of the viruses from the nature. So when, as a teacher, we don't know how to isolate a virus, how to go for a double agar layer technique, how to perform the adsorption technique, how to conduct an experiment on one-step growth, the burst size of the virus, a basic bacteriophage and the cyanophage, then the situation when the pandemic like this will come, what will happen? Look into yourself and in and around that we are teaching the students the practical aspects. Some are trained in fungi, so they are only teaching the isolation of some fungus, and that's how the knowledge is only passed through. So even if we are trained in one of the discipline in the area, it is our duty as a teacher to learn. Therefore, the teacher's training is much more important and paramount today than the students, that they should be refreshed. They must be taught about the isolation techniques of viruses, the isolation techniques of bacteria, isolation techniques of the fungi, and isolation techniques of the other protozoans and other microorganisms. Because when we do not know, then how we will pass on this information and knowledge, how we will train our students? This is the big question. And that is how this is the problem now. Even I have done my PhD on cyanophages, the viruses of the blue-green algae. the cyanophage N1, which was infecting the Nostoc muscorum, the nitrogen-fixing filamentous heterocystis cyanobacteria, long back in 80s. You know that in India the cyanophages were isolated from Banaras Hindu University itself, and now this study has gone. Now, if you look into the Indian context, nobody is now working on the physiology, biochemistry, or taxonomy, or any aspect of the cyanophages. Nobody knows about the cyanophages, that what they can do, what role they can play in the nature. We know the cyanophages are much more as important as bacteriophages and the other viruses. And we are suffering now the another kind of virus, that is COVID-19. So the cyanophages can play a very important role. They can be used as a biocontrol agent of the algal blooms in the lake and in the ponds and in the stream. They can be used as a vector system for transferring NIF genes from one nitrogen-fixing cyanobacteria to another nitrogen-fixing cyanobacteria. And also they have their role in the evolutionary history also. Not much has been investigated so far, because the cyanobacteria and cyanophage interaction of cyanobacteria and cyanophages can be used as a model system to understand the plant physiology in higher plants under virus infection. And therefore, it is much more important to give more emphasis and more teaching and more technology and more practicals on cyanophage research, which has been forgotten in India itself, and which can play a very important role itself. So when we are talking about what about the ecology of viruses, how many viruses are present in our environment? We don't know. Nobody is doing, nobody is sampling that a lot of viruses are present in our drinking water. Do we really go and isolate and we try to find out what are the species of the viruses? Maybe it is a hepatitis virus or any other viruses present in our drinking water, in our system. So nobody is working on the ecology of the viruses. Now this is a question of ecology of the viruses. The researchers and the kind of researches is needed is particularly on the ecology of the viruses, and therefore I'm trying to emphasize to this August forum that we must develop this kind of research facility. Even we must teach our students and the teachers that we must work on the ecology of the viruses. The day has come now to look into this stream. We must strengthen our researches, our knowledge, our standing, our teaching, our practical to the virology. That's very important at the moment. And also the other important plants. All the plants, I said, all the microorganisms, they are all important. Whether it is an algology, no, let me tell you that when I was working in Israel in 1998 and 99 as a visiting scientist in Jacob Blastin Institute for Desert Research, Ben Gurion University of the Negev, I was working with the founder director of the institute, that is Professor Amos Richmond, one of the renowned personality in microalgal biotechnology. Now, this was a eye-opening for me, because here I was working on the blue-green algae. When I went to Israel, I was asked to work on the red microalgae. Now you can see that, and that is also is grown in seawater. And I was working on the freshwater microalgae. So I was asked, Dr. Singh, can you work on this red microalgae, that is marine microalgae? I said, okay, I will do it. I accept the challenge. So I tried my best. I tried my wisdom. I tried my what faculties and the skills I was having. I really put into that. And I tried to grow the red microalgae porphyridium. And that is also in bioreactors. I was growing in a very small flask and test tube here in our lab. And they were working in the outdoor mass production of red microalgae using flat plate bioreactor. So that was for me is an eye-opener. I never worked on that. It was a commercial aspect, algal farming in outdoor system. So working indoor the lab, under the controlled condition is a different thing than working outside in the natural environment where we do not have any control over the environmental conditions. So now this was a transformation from lab to land. And let me tell you that I have learned a lot. He used to say, Dr. Singh, because when I have seen their facility, they don't have much facility. You know, the Israel is a very tiny country, 350 kilometers long and 75 kilometers width, and 60 million people are there. But their technology is the best in the world today. So why the Israel is so much dominant in the world, so much strong in technology and engineering? Most of the you can look into that the Nobel laureates are from Israel. They are Israeli. So and they don't have even the soil. They all have desert. They don't have the natural water. They are converting the marine water into fresh water, and that is making it a drinking water. They don't have drinking water facility. They don't have the soil like us in our country, and also all other natural resources they don't have. But they have everything now. Everything is being produced in their villages. And you know that once upon a time in 1967, where 7 countries around attacked Israel, and they fought it and defeated everyone, all other countries, all together. So much dedication for the country, so much dedication for their life, and they are dying for their country. And therefore, whatever the technology they are developing from the scratches, now you can see that they are importing even the soil from the other countries. They are purchasing soil, and they are trying to grow everything under protected environmental conditions. So he said that outdoors, Dr. Singh, the solar energy outdoors is available free of cost. So you can see the solar energy is available free of cost. Nature is giving us a solar energy. How to convert this solar energy into dollars? He said we are working on dollar biotechnology. We are working on solar biotechnology. Dr. Singh, this what we have been working in Israel, that how to convert freely available energy outdoors into dollars by cultivating microalgae in a mass production outdoors, and then developing the technology and selling it to the various industries of interest. And they have sold one of the technology, let me tell you, that is hematococcus, a green alga. They were growing in the tubular photobioreactor outdoors. And once they have completed their trials, 3 to 4 years, they have sold this technology in $1 million to a pharma company in Sweden. So I asked that German technician who was working with on this one. I said, Mr. Brian, what is the secret into that? He said that when you leave this country, Dr. Singh, at that day only I can tell you what is the secret. Now, when I was leaving the country, I invited him, and then he said this was a simple modification in the growth medium. It was a simple modification of the nitrate and phosphate concentration into the medium. So they have researched for 4 to 5 years. Now, only the modifications in the nutrient concentration of nitrate and phosphate for growing this hematococcus, which is the rich source of astaxanthin. Astaxanthin is a very potent pigment, the colored pigment found in the Hematococcus pluvialis. And this astaxanthin is anti-cancer in nature, potent antioxidants, and lot of medicinal values is there. So now you can see that now in India we are always talking about that we don't have resources, we don't have DNA sequencer. How should I work? No, it is not required. What is required is the determination. What is required is this upper part of the brain, that if we really want to work. Now, when I have seen his lab, it was simple under the cement chadar, covering. and very simple equipment were there, but they are putting lot of effort how to grow this microalgae outdoors in a large quantity of commercial value, and what are the natural conditions they can modify, and they can play with the light, pH, temperature, turbulation, nutrients, and aeration, etc. Only the factors affecting the growth they were trying to only understand. That no problem. Now that is the only problem, and then I also started the same, that how to grow the microalgae outdoors. Let me tell you, in most of our universities, even when I was 2018, I was delivering a lecture in centenary seminar of the botany department in Banaras Hindu University. I requested, being a student and alumni and of that department, that so far so many years have passed in BHU, but none of the professor, even the department, has not yet started the mass production of microalgae, though it is a center for excellence in algae and ecology. So they have been only working on the indoor laboratory technology. I said there is a need to go for outdoors, the mass production, the mass cultivation. When in Chandigarh, I was asked to join as a Chief Technology Officer by Has Biotech Labs in Chandigarh 2008. I took a leave for 4 years from the university. And he said, I want to develop the biodiesel from microalgae. This is my project. I said, no, you cannot go commercial. I can show you how to extract the lipid, how to convert this lipid into the biodiesel, but it is not a commercially viable. He said, why? I said, nobody is growing this microalgae. How you will get the raw material? Because when you start the business, you need 100,000 tons and tons of the microalgae every day to extract the lipid and convert into the biodiesel. But nobody is growing. That is not a vegetable that every farmer will grow. And no technology is available, and even our scientific centers and the other centers, they are not going for a large scale production. So when the large scale production of the raw material is not there, how you will utilize for the commercial scale? So I said technology is there, but we need to develop, we need to transform our vision. We need to change our vision so that we can get a raw material. And when you get a raw material, or that is on the live plants, you can start. You can start this conversion and biodiesel into bioethanol or biobutanol or anything. So what I'm trying to emphasize is that we need to change our vision. We now the time has come for commercialization. If we really want to stand in the international world as Atmanirbhar Bharat, as a Vishwaguru, then we have to change our focus. That we must go for commercialization of development of such an cutting edge technology in not only the 1 or 2 areas which I have said, even in the higher plant system. When now we are talking about our Ayurveda and various herbs and other things. Now let me tell you that 700 species have been described, the herbs in Atharva Veda and then Charak Samhita and Susrut Samhita. Why this Ayurveda is not so much acceptable and prevalent as such? Though 3/4, 80% of the world population is still dependent on the traditional herbal medicine as per WHO report. They are relying on that. But what about the acceptance? Because we have not yet worked on the active ingredients found in the plants. All plants growing in this universe have medicinal value. Every plant, everything, whether it is weed or anything, God has given a natural gift to every plant and every organism. Now, since we have not gone for a isolation, characterization, purification, and then testing and trial of these active ingredients present in the plants, we are unable to say that this is the medicine we have developed from in Ayurveda. and therefore the whole plant has to be consumed, the whole part has to be consumed, and though it is effective, but what researches are required? These particular researches are required that we must, first of all, we must identify the plant. We should develop the strong taxonomy. Now the students are not much interested, but it is the time that we must develop our base in identification of the plants. One of the college I was visiting once upon a time for a practical purpose, I asked the teachers, why don't you start some research? He said that we don't have a facility for the research. We don't have the equipment for the research, sir, so how can I do? I said, at least you can start a research by counting the Azadirachta indica plants, the neem plants present in your district. You can go for a survey. You can go for a survey in block-wise, tehsil-wise, in district-wise, that what is the population density frequency of the Azadirachta indica, a simple neem plant. And that is the research. That we need a real data. You go for any medicinal plant, any aromatic plants present in your tehsil, present in your village, present in your block, present in your district. If we really go for that and count them and see their dominance, the variations, the species diversity, the species richness, the species evenness, and this report is presented all together, we can prepare a map of the system. That, like I said, that the map of the medicinal aromatic plants of any district of the country. This should be a real, not a secondary data extracted from the internet. We must go and search and find out what is the presence of various medicinal and aromatic plants in our district. And then you can really tell to the government, you can formulate a research project. When you formulate a research project, funding is there. It is always available. So we have to go into the field. We the teachers have the responsibility to go into the field. And also our younger generation, the students, that like in Banaras Hindu University, our teacher used to go with me, the teachers of the great algology, and they were showing us that where this particular algae can be found, whether it is in water, whether it is in the soil or in the bark. Or he used to tell that if you go to the tree bark, you will get this algae. You put your hand here in this water, you will get this kind of algae. If you go to this particular habitat, you will get this kind of algae. So this is the time that we must go and identify the plants and then their medicinal values, and we have to inculcate this knowledge to all our next generation. This is our duty. This is our duty to inculcate this kind of knowledge and to our next generation, and so that they can also identify. Let me tell you, when I visiting the Israel, there were some vegetable and fruits not known to me in India. So I never tried that. Once upon a time, I asked that shopkeeper, are these edible? So yes, it is edible. We are eating it. We don't have this knowledge in our country. So I was scared to use, because I was not shown or told by our parents, and since it was not in our mind, so even if it was good, I didn't use that. So therefore, what is important, that we are only, nowadays the people are talking about the balanced diet, the immunity. The immunity, you say, that cannot be increased in a overnight. There's no medicine to increase the immunity of our body. It's a long metabolic, biological process, depends upon our eating, our habit, our lifestyle. Like Ayurveda say, Anna Devo Bhav. Anna hi Bhagwan hai. So whatever the diet we are taking, is it balanced? Whenever, even if we are a academician, when we are sitting on the dining table, do we think that our diet is balanced? Do we think that this diet contains the required amount of protein, carbohydrate, fats, lipids, minerals, water? No. Whatever we like, whatever is tasty, whatever we like to eat, we are eating without thinking that our body is requiring some kind of special vitamins, some kind of minerals is required. So when we go deficient in that, then we are going for a doctors and saying that we are suffering from this one. So they will write this, you take this, you take that. So this kind of knowledge, this kind of, most of our children, some don't eat the tomato, which is a rich source of lycopene and very potent anti-cancer agent, and somebody is not interested to eat simla mirch, the capsicum, the chilies, or other vegetables. So therefore the habit has changed. Since habit has changed, we are only trying to eat whatever we like. We are suffering from various diseases. It's going to cause an imbalance in our physiological and biochemical disorders in our body. They are likely to cause. And therefore, we must know what are the medicinal values of the plants which are growing in our garden, in our courtyard. Lot of plants is there. The neem, the indica, has a tremendous value, tremendous antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal capability is there in the Aja directa indica. Are we using the neem leaves in our day-to-day life? No, we are not. Even when we are using as a datun, now we are not using. It is there. We don't need to go for anything. It's a healer. It's for skin disease, for any kind of liver disease, for any kind of fungal, bacterial, viral disease. My mother used to give me the extract of the neem leaf when I was young. Even some balls of the neem leaf when I was young. So it is there. We have aloe vera in our courtyard. We are not using. So, like ashwagandha, we must use. The giloy, now people are talking about the guruchi. We don't know. We were not using. Now, when people like Baba Ramdev and others are saying that they have all kind of medicinal simple property, everybody is going for that. So, what I'm trying to say, this whatever the medicinal plants, our lifestyle in day-to-day life and day-to-day habit, we must think that we must teach, we must learn the medicinal property of those plants, and then try to develop an entrepreneurship, uddamita, what is required at the time when we are talking about Atmanirbhar Bharat. Atmanirbhar Bharat तभी हो सकता है जब हर हाथ को स्किल हो. Every hand should have the skill. Every family should be a manufacturing unit. Every village should be a manufacturing hub. Everybody is when self-dependent, then the India will become Atmanirbhar. We must think that whatever the skill set we have. Now the Prime Minister is talking for the last 5 to 6 years, skill development, skill development, skill India, skill India, skill India, entrepreneurship. That is the only solution now. When we are not going for foreign goods from China, other thing, what is the solution? Who will provide the solution? I have visited China. I was visiting scientists in 2007, and I have seen that every house was a kind of manufacturing unit. That simple things we are getting here is a cheap cost is because of everybody, every house is manufacturing unit. So all are contributing. All the citizens of the country are contributing to the GDP of the country. Do we do that? Do we think that all people in our family are contributing to the GDP? सकल घरेलू उत्पाद में उनका योगदान है? नहीं है. How many people are really contributing to the GDP of the country? When everyone will start contributing to the GDP of the country, the India will become Atmanirbhar within no time. Only thing is that instead of wasting our time on internet and all kind of things, we must work for our country. We must think that what technology, simple technology we can develop. Yesterday I was holding a meeting on Atmanirbhar Jabalpur. Dani Durgavati University is going to lead in this direction, and our Institute of University Institute of Vocational Studies and Skill Development is the nodal department of the university. So we thought, why not a idea of Atmanirbhar Jabalpur? Can we make it Atmanirbhar? What are the areas where we can really contribute? Whatever the things are grown, I was told that in our one of the district of the Dindori and other the villagers are growing the millets, and the millets they are unable to sell it on the higher prices, so people are there buying and then preparing lot of biscuits and other things, because now it's a superfood. So can we brand it? Can we package it? Can we improve it? Give some technical support. We give some skill to these farmers, the poor farmers, and their traditional knowledge of medicinal and aromatic plants. So if we improve their skill set, if we improve the facilities, if we connect them to the various platforms where they can really take the skill training and they can sell their product, they will be Atmanirbhar. They will not commit suicide. Even you can see that why the farmers are committing suicide, not a milkman. You think because the milkman is selling their milk and he knows that it's 50 rupees per liter. If he sell 10 liters, he will get 500 rupees every day. But the poor farmer, when he is coming to sell his vegetables, we are bargaining that no, you give 2 rupees less and 4 rupees less, and then you can think about, because it's perishable, and he is forced to sell at lower prices, and we feel proud that we have got discount of rupees 2 or rupees 1 and rupees 10. When we go to hotels, we are paying to the waiter a tip of rupees 100, 200, 300 rupees as a proud. But when it comes to a poor villages, a poor person selling a poor vegetables, here and there, trying to somehow survive, we go for bargaining. We the poor people selling the total worth of rupees 500, 1000 rupees and wants to feed their family, we feel proud to get the discount from him. So this kind of mentality has to be changed. We must support our farmer. We must support the organic farming. We must go to the farmers and tell that, look here, I am with you. You produce it organically. We'll buy at the cost which you decide is appropriate and which is appropriate. So unless we support, either we start our in urban system, like I am doing is a terrace gardening on my terrace for the last 5 years, and giving the knowledge to our society, trying to develop some videos and some lectures and giving them. So we need to be trained. We have a lot of rooftop in the urban area and is lying empty, vacant, not utilized. Freely available energy is available outdoors. But we are not cultivating the vegetables and the fruits. We don't want to mingle with the soil. We think that our hand will go dirty. But we must understand that this body has to go to the soil one day. So why to not to mix with the soil? If you really work on that, and we'll start working on urban farming, particularly in organic farming, which is the need of the hour, we must go for organic farming. We must avoid, because I have seen in the Punjab, I was conducting a camp in the Malwa region where I have seen that healthy people are suffering from iron deficiency, and at least 1 or 2% of every family was suffering from the cancer. It's because of the green revolution and their after effects that for more cultivation from dwarf varieties, they have been using a lot of pesticide, insecticide, herbicides, and whatnot, and a lot of chemical fertilizers. Now the whole soil has become contaminated, polluted, and the grains which are being grown over there is contaminated, and therefore they are suffering from cancer, and the cancer belt is there, cancer train is there. Even now in our family, if you look into the 2 or 3 generation, you can see that one of our family member must be suffering from here to there from the cancer. Now it's increasing. It's because of the lifestyle. It's because of our food habit that we have not emphasized on organic vegetables, organic food, and organic consumption. Now the time has come to rethink and revisit the organic farming. And therefore, I used to say that if you grow whatever you eat and eat whatever you grow. And at this time, you need a family farmer, not like a family doctor. Now you need a family farmer who can supply you the pure organically grown vegetable and fruits and other grains and other things to our family, and that's how we can survive. So here our teachers of the life sciences, because we are the light bearers of the society. The society is looking on the academicians, and they are looking at us that what we can do. So विश्व गुरु बनाने के लिए गुरुजों की आवश्यकता है, जहां we can teach our students, we can develop such a simple technology, we can go to the villages and teach them apart from our regular teaching. Whatever form like this platform which Dr. Humane has created, I hope it will play a vital role in transforming India. Because once we decided, it's only the decision. You take the decision, things will be done. Don't wait. No good time will come. If we say that time will come, time will come, time will come. Now people used to say that time will come. When he becomes 20 years old, he will say that time will come. When he becomes 30 years old, he said time will come. When he becomes 40 years, he said good time will come. When he becomes 50 years, time will come. When he becomes 55 and 60 years, doctor used to say, call their relative, the time has come. So time will never come. Time is already there. You have to start right now. This is the good time, right time to start anything, like Dr. Humane has started Botany for You and the National Teacher Association for the Life Science. So he has taken a good decision at right time. There's no other good time. We must start right now, whatever, because we don't have time. We don't know how many people will survive this COVID, who will celebrate the new year, or who will not. Nobody knows. And how long this will continue? Nobody knows. How long this pandemic will continue? Because the virus is in there in the air. How can you kill every virus particle? You know that when it is not associated with the life system, it's a dead, it's a virion. It's only when it comes to the life system it becomes infective. So in this time of uncertainty, the students are looking at me, their parents are looking at us, and they are under distress, and therefore we must communicate to our student. They are sitting at their home, they are in despair, they are disappointed, they are distressed. They don't know what will happen, their degree, their future. They are psychologically weak at this time. Not only the students, but their parents as well. And therefore, like in our Rani Durgavati University, Jabalpur, we are providing online psychological counseling. We have a psychometric analysis lab in our institute, and we do provide online psychological counseling at this time to the parents and to the students free of cost. Everything is free of cost in this university. Whatever we conduct is free of cost. We don't charge for that. So this is the right time that we must go to these students. We must develop, because now the question of employment is not a wage employment. You know that most of the industries has shut down. Most of the businesses has shut down. The wage employment has gone down. So the future is self-employment is the only employment. जो आत्मनिर्भर भारत की बात है, whatever the technology, whatever the knowledge, whatever we have, we must develop and create. We must start from scratches. What we must start, what knowledge do we have? From there, we can convert our energy, our knowledge into a product. And that's how now the social media is there, electronic media is there. We must know how to use this media. We must, only a few hours back, I was talking to the incubation center of one of the officer of the Jabalpur. I said, you must teach us how to use this electronic media. I don't know even much. Before this pandemic, I was not knowing that. Yesterday only I asked Dr. Humane that how we will utilize this platform. So I'm a professor, but I'm not trained to. Nobody has taught me the utilization and their applications of computer ever. So I'm learning. So I said that you must start a kind of coding program, as our Prime Minister has said, the computer coding, to not only the students, but to the teachers, to the parents, to everybody, every stakeholders must be taught in that area. When we are going for an e-learning, e-teaching, and ICT, ICT is now playing a very important role, though it may have their bad impacts. Drawbacks are there, some ill effects are there, but there is no way out except to focus on this e-learning, this digital area, this digital era, this digital medium. So we have to collect this knowledge and disseminate in any area of the life sciences, whether it is animal sciences, the animal husbandry. The government is going and giving a lot of subsidy for rearing of the animals, the pet animals, and the aquaculture. This is a time, when again I would like to mention here that when I was in Israel, let me tell you that they don't have the fresh water, I told. So they were importing the seed of the prawns from the USA, and then they were growing it in a pond in our institute, and then it becomes some 3 or 4 centimeters of the prawn. Then they are transferring to other pond system, and they're growing in the desert. It was a milestone for them, growing prawns in a desert. And then they were selling in a Tel Aviv, some hotels of $100 and something like per kg. So they know the entrepreneurship. They know how to work in a harsh environment. They know that how to work without a natural resources. They are developing the technology out of the conditions which are present and prevailing over there. So this period has to be converted into opportunities. So we must emphasize, like I told you, that on aquaculture. This is the time that we must go for aquaculture, different kind of animal rearing, animal husbandry, aquaculture, and then various researches going on. Whatever is there, like their Panchagabhya technology is there. The pot making of our veterinary university of Jabalpur is making various pots from the animal waste, from the gobar. Panchagabhya is there. They are preparing. So we have to utilize each and every part. Nothing is waste. Everything is resource in this world. Whatever is there is resource. We must have this knowledge and thinking and technology wherever it is available, how to convert this resource into a usable product. That is the time has come that we must teach our students that this particular time period, which is under turmoil, how we can convert it into a opportunity, into an entrepreneur. And therefore, I think that this particular platform will be helpful in disseminating knowledge and technology as well together, and connecting the people who are having this technology, maybe a village technology, maybe a handicraft technology, wherever they are, connect them improve them, provide them the government facilities, give them information to the whatever our government is doing, and help them so that this technology can be developed and utilized properly for the building of our nation, for building of our people, for their survival. So we must convert this knowledge of life sciences in the various field of the researches. Like we have a lot of equipments lying in our colleges, but most of the equipments are not working. And even the university and the college do not have the grant for their repairing. Even the funding agency do not provide the grant for the repairing for the instrument. And therefore, we must rethink of this kind of policies, that there is no need to purchase another instrument. We must go for repairing of the instrument, the maintenance of the instrument, so that the student can work on that. So whatever the resources are available in our college, whatever the resources are available in the university, we must revisit and see how they can be utilized again, how they can be, if not working, how can we make them functional for our students. We must teach them the real skills, the real practical work to the student, rather than the theoretical knowledge. So therefore, I once again emphasize that practical training is much more paramount than the theoretical knowledge. Theoretical knowledge, of course, is required, but we must train our student practically. We must go for their skill development in every area of personality, whether it is personality development, it is computer application, whether it is entrepreneurship development, their communication skill, or their digital literacy, their financial literacy, their leadership development quality, and the working with the community, the corporate system, and whatnot. Every trait has to be inculcated in the students, and this is our duty, this is our time. So if I think that a lot of knowledgeable and teachers and the scientists are associated with this organization, I hope the day will come when this organization will prove the torchbearer of the country, and will really work hard for the students and the people of the India, and one day we will become Atmanirbhar. So with this remark, I again announce that National Teachers Organization in Life Sciences stands inaugurated, and I congratulate Dr. Pitambar Humaneji and his team for this great job, which is for the people of the India. Thank you so much for having invited me and given a patient hearing to my thoughts. Thank you so much. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat, Vande Mataram.
Thank you very much, sir, for your kind words and very nice and informative lecture. Now I request Professor Deepak Koche, uh, Department of Botany, Sri Shivaji College of Arts, Commerce and Science, Akola, to deliver vote of thanks for this technical session.
A very good morning to one and all. On behalf of entire organizing team of Botany for You, I extend a very hearty thanks to the keynote speaker, Professor Surendra Singh, Director, University Institute of Vocational Studies and Skill Development Center, Rani Durgavati University, Jabalpur, MP, India, for giving this valuable time and motivational talk and interact with our participants of this international webinar. Sir, your keynote was really lucid and self-explanatory, such as your own persona. After sharing your findings, experience, and opinions regarding the teaching and research in life sciences, I am confident that all our audience will be definitely benefited. I such cooperation in the future also. Once again, thank you very much for your kind words of wisdom. Thank you, sir.
Hello everyone. A warm welcome to all the respected dignitaries, honorable guest speaker, teachers from all over nation, and my dear student friends. On behalf of Botany for You, an online platform for the learners of life sciences, I, Dr. Nitin Labane, founder, member, Botany for You, and associate professor in Department of Botany, Bhavans College, Mumbai, welcome you all for the first technical session of 2-day international webinar and inauguration of National Teachers Organization in Life Sciences, organized today and tomorrow. Dear friends, a gardener is a one who loves plant and knows how to cherish them. This concept may include a botanist. It certainly includes a host of admirable amateurs who may not know what a chromosome looks like or what taxonomy means, but they know the growing plants, wild or cultivated. They are the first hand experience holder. We feel great pride and privilege to have such dynamic personality with us today to deliver his prodigious word for the passion for the plants. I feel honored to introduce you our today's guest speaker, Mr. Greg Rupert, passionate plant lover and founder of CEO of Elite Bulbs Private Limited, Australia. The company that imports rare bulbs from South Africa and Japan. The company also publishes the magazine Passion for Plants. Greg is an internationally recognized author and leader with Speakers Tribe in South Australia. As a tribe leader, he aims to improve communication skill. He believes that communication is a superpower. He believes if you can't communicate what you know, then nobody can learn. Greg has been a well-known speaker at international botanical conferences since 1990 and has traveled to countries in Asia and Africa on plant hunting expedition. His passion for plants started when he was very young and has continued throughout his life. Greg currently holds Australian national collection for several species of plant. He promotes plant at every opportunity because he knows that without plants we cease to exist. Greg also enjoys taking high quality of photographs of plants and flowers. This led to the observation that may revolutionize the hybridizing of aeroids where the flowers are not enclosed by the spades. Greg believes in the principle look outside the normal through thought process. Don't overlook unqualified people who have extensive knowledge and also wish that every partisan of this webinar will follow this thing. This very outlook that to look beyond the unqualified nature, think that the unqualified person which we are
Okay.
Thank you for the kind introduction.
thanks
I'd
Greg.
like to acknowledge the people interested in botany anywhere, and particularly those people who are working at a professional level and those that are working as students. For professionals, it displays a love for the science of plants. For students, it displays a desire to know more about plants. We can live for about 3 minutes without oxygen. Oxygen that plants produce to keep us alive. We can last for 3 days without water. Water, which only 0.1% of our blue planet is usable by humans. We can last for about 3 weeks without food. Some of us could do with a lot more of lasting without food, but I won't go there. There is nothing that we eat that is not ultimately derived from plants and to a lesser extent from fungi. Even the animals that we eat, they have been brought up on plant stock, and sometimes it's to the detriment of our plants that we are eating animal-based food. I want to make a differentiation here that follows on from the previous speaker in relation to information and knowledge. And I listened to the previous speaker talk about the fact that there are so many people in your community that have knowledge, that have information about what plants offer, what their perfumes are, how they can be eaten, but none of that is of any use to the wider community because it's not engulfed in knowledge, and knowledge is what is really, really necessary. I want you to imagine a story. It's about a young boy whose parents back in the 1950s, 1960s were typical. The mother would stay at home and look after the children. The father would go off to work. In this case, the father worked in a factory, and he worked 6 days a week, and on the 7th day he would rest. And so the young child did not see much of his father. He didn't see much of his mother either because he spent most of his time outside. It was a large domestic block. And he would be out there playing around in the dirt, something that many young children don't get to do today. And he developed an immunity to the diseases that were abound. He grew, the father grew various plants. Most of them were bulbs, and they tend to be South African bulbs. South Australia has a history of importing plants from South Africa. When the first European settlers came here back in the 1800s, they stopped at South Africa and they stopped at Cape Town, and they picked up their supplies, and they also picked up their plants, and a lot of plants came to South Australia from South Africa. So he grew up learning about Lacanalias and Velthemias, which are plants that may not be commonly known to the community that I'm speaking to. He grew a passion for plants, and this passion showed itself in him spending all of his pocket money that he was given importing seed. Now I'm talking a child that was 9, 10 years old, would send money overseas and get seed back. He had a device that was 3 tiers high, that was polystyrene lined, had lights across the top to illuminate everything, and he grew his seed in Velthemia. He didn't just grow a few plants. When he was 11 years old, he had 30,000 cactus growing in his parents' backyard. And they had to fit in with all the camellias that his brother would grow. So he grew a lot of cactus. He also grew Banksias in pots. Banksia is a member of the Proteaceae, and they continued to grow while he was at school. He left school, went to university, and he wanted to be a botanist. And he did Botany 1 and did very well in Botany 1. Was doing Botany 2, and it was about halfway through the year when the professor of botany came around the class and spoke to this young man and said that he would never be a botanist because he couldn't draw. I want that to sink in for a while. You couldn't be a botanist, you couldn't know about plants because you couldn't draw them. Anyway, he married. He left university, didn't get qualifications, went out, got a job, got married. The marriage fell apart, but he never lost his passion for plants. And it is that passion that kept him going. And you need to realize that we've just built a brand new multi-billion-dollar hospital here in Adelaide. And one of the things that has been incorporated into the building of hospitals has been the effects on mental disorders and recovery times for operations. And every room in the hospital now looks out to a planted environment. It's been designed that way because they believe, and the research has shown, that recovery time after an operation is much quicker if there are plants around. So as the young man grew older, his facilities didn't improve, and he had to turn to things that he could grow very easily. We live in a climate where we get 47 degrees with 0 humidity in summer, and we get in Celsius, and we get 0 degrees with high humidity in winter. And cactus don't grow too well in that sort of thing. So he turned his attention to aroids, and particularly to arums, developed relationships with botanists at Kew. One of the botanists, well, he's an unqualified person at Kew, was a man who started as a horticulturalist. He went to Kew to mow lawns, and his passion for the plants showed, and his supervisors then gave him more and more of the research type work, and he ended up publishing papers on species cultivation. He ended up publishing a monograph on a small genera of 3 species. He then moved on to publish a monograph on the genus Arum. He then moved to Malaysia, and now he runs a nursery for a private enterprise. He is a lecturing, a visiting lecturer at one of the Malaysian universities. He publishes probably 10 to 15 documents per year, which are not just a write-up on one species, but a write-up on a whole group of species. So his passion has grown for him. But back to the young lad, who by now was a young man. He turned to South African bulbs because he could grow them quite easily. The South African climate is very similar to the climate in Australia. And he discovered that in amongst the 130 species of Lachanalias, there were cultivars that were being prepared by the South African government. And the government had been working on these for 20 to 30 years, and they weren't available in Australia. They were available in Europe, they were available in America, but they weren't available in Australia. And so the young man thought, well, I need to get these into Australia. Now, quarantining had changed very much from the time when the young man had gone on expedition in China. The expedition in China had been organised by a botanist from the United States, and he recognised the significance of this young man and the knowledge that he had, and that he was prepared to present, because at that stage he was publishing magazine, and he invited the young man to join him on an expedition to China, collecting plants for taxonomic research. He realised that the field of interest of the young man was not what he had, the same as his, and he contacted the young man and said, would he like to join another expedition that was going to the border of China and Burma? And he mentioned the name of the professor who was leading the expedition, Professor SIngh, who was at that time regarded as the preeminent botanist in relation to Aracemas, which is what the young man had decided he was trying to grow. So being very excited, he joined the expedition, and was of such value to the expedition for 6 weeks that he was invited back again. At that expedition, this is in the late 1990s, there were other expeditions going on all the time, and at the final dinner, one of the other Australians who was on another expedition made the comment that our quarantine requirements had changed and that we better have our paperwork right. We brought back plants and seed, and everything went as it should, and we ended up with flowering plants back in Australia. Going back to the South African issue, we have had a major change because Australia is an island continent, and Australia is free of many of the diseases. If we want to import plants from the Americas, from Europe, and from parts of Asia, there is great difficulty, and it is almost an impossible thing to do. However, we can import plants from South Africa without too much difficulty. We have to get permits and all the rest of it. And the young man, having been told that he couldn't get the plants into the country, decided that he would get them. He arranged for a quarantine station to be able to house them for the 12 weeks that they had to be in quarantine. They had to be inspected, they had to be fumigated. And I don't know if people are aware, but plants that travel around the world get fumigated in the country where they go into with methyl bromide. And it is such a toxic substance that it's the only use that it's allowed for in the whole world. So that young man happens to be me. And I now conduct a nursery that brings into the country rare bulbs from South Africa and Japan. And we also publish a magazine, which is meant to disseminate accumulated knowledge. What we go for authors for the magazine are not necessarily people who are professors in universities, but they are the people who grow the plants. They're the people who have the knowledge on maybe one genus, and they have intimate knowledge. So what we're trying to do with that magazine is bring the passion to everybody. I want to talk about a third person. This person is a highly qualified man. He is in his mid-70s, and he is held in such high regard that in his mid-70s, having retired at 65, he still has a staff of about 5 working for him at the Botanic Institution. He goes, even though he's in his mid-70s, he goes to South America on field expeditions doing taxonomic research. He has named something like 400 anthuriums. So he is a man that is full of knowledge, and he writes regularly, he speaks to clubs, and he is keen to promote that knowledge to as wide a community as possible. But we need to be mindful of the population. Taxonomy is a dying art, in my opinion. There are lots of new thoughts about DNA manipulation, and I think that DNA manipulation and or processing should be used to arrive at the relationships between plants and no more than that. In 2013, I presented a paper at a conference in Hanoi, and I was most disturbed, and put my foot in it as an unqualified person, by raising a question when some Chinese students put up a new species. And they made the comment at the start that this species was undetectably different from another species that existed. It was only different in its DNA structure. And I asked the question, how could you tell that it was a different species? And they said, well, it grows up on a limestone cliff. And that was their justification for it. But taxonomy is something that is very important, and it goes back to Carl Linnaeus, who determined that taxonomic principles were based on the sexual parts of a flower. And I'm digressing a bit as we speak, but it troubles me that you have to grab a plant, take it back to the laboratory, and then assess its DNA to decide whether it's a new species or not. And I don't think that that goes very well with the general population. But I return to my point about being mindful of the population. We have, in the life sciences, we have a snake enthusiast who is highly qualified, who puts out his own magazines. And so he can legitimately publish taxonomic data. He has been setting about renaming the snakes in Australia. And I don't know if you're aware, but the snakes in Australia, we have 8 of the 10 most venomous snakes in the world, which means that if you get bitten by a snake, you need to go to hospital, and you need to get there very quickly. Most hospitals have the venom and the antivenin to be able to assist the person and stop them from dying. But the trouble is that this man has been renaming the snakes, and the technology has not kept up with it, with the antivenin to treat the person. And so we've had a spike in deaths. We don't lose many people to snake bite. But what I want you to do is to be passionate about what you do. You need to learn. For the students who are coming through, when I was doing botany at university, it was a chore. It was one of the sciences. I was doing physics and chemistry and maths at the same time. But I wanted it to be a means to an end. I wanted to be a botanist. Whereas a lot of the other botany students were only doing it because it made up the numbers of the subjects that they had to do. So when you're learning, you need to learn as much as you can. Don't be afraid of turning to people who are not qualified, because a lot of people who are not qualified, and there are a lot of us out there, know a lot more than what the professors do. And this is not being rude to the professors. This is a point where the professors, as I saw with the previous talker, have a great range of knowledge. They need to be across
Mr. Greg, your voice is not audible now. Might be some technical problem. Just a minute, please. Somewhere the technical problem in there. Soon Greg will join with us.
My apologies for that. Even in a country like Australia, we have computer failures. My computer just failed on me, so I will try and take up where I left off. Learning is the most important thing. Oh my God. All right. We need to communicate what we know, because when we die, our knowledge dies with us unless it is written down or recorded somewhere. We need to talk to people. We need to talk to people in the general population. We need to write so that things are recorded, and we need to educate our populations. But what I want to go to now is, don't be afraid of citizen science. The previous speaker spoke about talking to the local farmers who knew what plants were safe to eat, what plants smelled, and what goes on with plants, as much knowledge as us. But we don't have any method of getting it from them. And I really support his view that you need to get out there and get that information, because their children are not as interested as they are in farming and producing food. And so their knowledge will die with them. You need the local knowledge. With citizen science, what has happened is that we have, some of our scientists at the universities have got together and put together projects that enable us to research product. One of the research papers that was prepared, it ended up being a full book, was on the koala, which is an iconic Australian animal. And the researchers did not know how to find out how widespread the koalas were. So they put out a call on the radio station. They enrolled 2,000 to 3,000 people from the local community, who then submitted data on their observations on the koala, and it gained great increases in knowledge of what was to be known about the koalas and their range. Is taxonomy dead? I hope not. I recently gave a talk to a garden club, and it was on taxonomic names, on the botanical code, and the fact that we like to call anything a lily. And I showed them slides of 26 different genera that are not lilies, that were regarded as lilies. And I tried to educate them, and I won some of them over. We gained increase in knowledge. But more recently, as an unqualified person who just likes to do research, my other hobby is photography. And I was due to present a paper at a conference in Europe in July, which unfortunately was called off because of the virus problems. And the research paper dealt with the fact that aroids generally have, on their flower, they have a spathe and they have a spadix, and on the spadix they have the male and the female flowers. And I had been wanting to do ultraviolet photography for some time, but ultraviolet photography is very expensive. You need old cameras, you need old lenses. The modern cameras just do not take ultraviolet photographs. And I spoke to a chap who was involved in ultraviolet photography, and he said, well, why don't you start off doing ultraviolet inflorescence? I had no idea what he was talking about. But apparently when you hit something that is going to fluoresce with ultraviolet light, it lights up and it changes colour. And I said to him, this would be expensive. He said, no, because you're still photographing in the visible spectrum, but you're illuminating something in the ultraviolet spectrum. And so what you're photographing is the outcome. And when he put it to me, I thought, well, this is an interesting thing we can do with aeroids. A friend of mine had an Amorphophallus titanum, one of the giant arums in flower at our botanic garden, and he invited me to come along and photograph and do what I do with the ultraviolet light, and I got no response from the plant. The plant did not fluoresce. So I came home and a bit embarrassed. I said to my wife that we had had no success, and she said, well, there's an anthurium out in flower over there. Why don't you get it nice and dark and do it? And it blew up like a balloon. The inflorescence was quite spectacular on the pollen, but it was only on the pollen. And this is a discovery that we've made that has not been reported in any of the scientific data. So I urge the professionals and those who want to be professionals, do not write off those who are not qualified, because there is a lot of knowledge out there and there is a lot of knowledge to be gained. I lament about international agreements. I have been warned not to be political in my discussion, so I will not be. Almost every country on earth has signed up to the international agreements. I understand why we need agreements to protect our own flora from diseases, and that is handled by quarantine. But these international agreements are inhibiting biodiversity. We have seen in the last year the deforestation in the Amazon, which has been caused by the forest fires, and yet there are South American countries that want to completely stop any trade of plants outside of their country. And in fact, if you live in these countries and you send seed or plants outside of the country, you go to jail. There is no minimum sentence. It's a jail term, and I really lament the loss of biodiversity. To me, every plant is important, and to stop things, particularly when we've seen examples of plants that have become extinct by development by mankind, that could have been saved by sending them to another country, by sending seeds so that the plants still existed. I want to leave you with some take-home messages. And the first one is, be passionate about what you do. All right? Botany, zoology, the life sciences, they are all something to be passionate about, because without them, we don't exist. Always act with integrity, because we are hearing regular reports of people that are taking expeditions into places, and they are ravaging the countryside. They'll see a specimen of something and they will dig up every plant of it. Don't be that sort of person. Do not be afraid to question the facts. Do not be bound by what you believe to be true, because truth is only a momentary thing. It wasn't that long ago that people thought the earth was flat. The knowledge said that the earth was flat maybe 1,000 years ago. But we now know that the earth is not a flat place, and that you won't fall off it if you go sailing over the edge. You just go to another continent. So believe what you know to be true, but listen to other people when they give you examples of their view. Spread your knowledge of plants. The general population know almost nothing. They're more fascinated by watching TV. They're more fascinated by their telephones. Speak up. You have a voice. and you need to be heard. And the last point is to live in wonder at the natural environment, because the natural environment is what we have, is where we grow up, and it is all that we have left. And I thank you for the opportunity to present.
Thanks, Greg, for your nice talk.
Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you very much, sir. Now I request Dr. Nitin Labhane to propose vote of thanks to Mr. Greg.
Thanks a lot, Greg, for your nice talk. If the questions are there, we will.
You can put the message in a comment box, please.
Yeah. Thanks, Dr. Pitambar Humneji, for giving me the opportunity to propose the vote of thanks. First of all, I like to thank the organizers to give me an opportunity to propose a vote of thanks. I must mention our deep sense of appreciation for Mr. Greg Ruckert, a passionate plantsman and founder and CEO of the Elite Pulse Private Limited Australia, for sharing his work. I extend my deep gratitude for his valuable talk with the learners of life sciences. It was a pleasure to have you, Greg, on this platform. And I'm confident that the learners of life sciences will follow the same path which you had shown them. You had talked at length regarding how the researcher should be not be afraid of the things that is happening around. They should be vociferous. Sometimes they should be able to put their views very straightforwardly. But at the same time, we need to be a very good listener. Until unless the people are not listening to each and every one, I think the democratic fabric will be broken. I think there is many things which Greg has suggested to this August gathering. So thanks a lot, Greg, once again. I, on behalf of organizing team of Botany for You, extend my thanks to the honorable delegates and learners of life sciences who has blessed us with their presence. Everybody who is watching this YouTube live, I am thankful to all of them for taking out their valuable time out of their busy schedule. Once again, I like to thank the Greg for his wonderful speech. Now I like to request the dynamic leader, Dr. Pitambar Humne, the founder of the Botany for You, to take the session forward. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nitin. We are waiting for the third our guest speaker, and he is also coming soon live. Good morning, sir.
Yeah.
Hello.
Sir.
Sir, am I audible?
Yes.
Now I request Dr. Deepak Koche, Professor in Botany, Sri Shivaji College of Arts, Commerce and Science, Akola, to introduce our guest speaker, Professor Dr. C.N. Khobragade sir from Nanded University.
Thank you very much. Hello, everyone. Hello. A very good afternoon to one and all respected dignitaries, honorable speakers, respected teachers from all over India, and my dear students. On behalf of Botany for You, an online platform for the students of life sciences, I, Dr. Deepak Koche, founder member of Botany for You and Professor Department of Botany, Sri Shivaji College of Arts, Commerce and Science, Akola, welcomes you all in this second technical session of 2 days international webinar, Inauguration of National Teachers Organization in Life Sciences, that is NTOIL, organized on 10th and 11th August 2020. It gives me immense pleasure to introduce today's guest speaker, Dr. C.N. Khobragade sir, Professor and Head, Department of Biotechnology, School of Life Sciences, Swami Ramananda Tirth, Marathwada University, Nanded. Sir did his MSc in 1989, qualified CSIR NET in Life Sciences in 1990, and awarded PhD in 1993. Sir has the teaching experience of more than 25 years, with more than 20 years of the research experience. 13 students were awarded PhD and 6 students were awarded MPhil degree under his able guidance. Currently, about 6 students are working under his supervision. There are 90 research publications to his credit, including 65 at international and 25 at national level. Sir has 3 patents to his credit. One is granted and 2 are published, and 1 is in pipeline. Sir has published 1 book and 11 book chapters, and also executed 6
New
research
approach.
projects funded by different national agencies
Yeah.
as a principal investigator. Sir also has the leadership experience as director and head chairman, member RRC, Biosafety Committee, custodian examination, academic council member, and several other committees of SRT MNU Nanded. His area of research is enzymology, pharmaceutical biotechnology, nanotechnology, and biofuel. We are happy to have such a multi-talented and multifaceted persona with us as a guest speaker. We welcome you, sir, and I request you to start your lecture. Sir, over to you.
Hello. Yeah.
Hello. Yes, sir.
Hello. Hello.
Yes,
Sir,
sir, you are
am I
audible.
audible, sir?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
You are
Sir, so-
audible, but the screen is great. Yeah.
Hello.
सर एडजस्ट योर कैमरा. सर आप अपना कैमरा एडजस्ट कीजिए.
हाँ या.
सर तुम्ही तुमचा कॅमेरा ऍडजस्ट करा
So,
थोडासा.
नाही एक मिनिट पीपीटी शेअर करावं लागेल ना.
हो चालेल.
हा,
PowerPoint
सर
प्रेझेंटेशन.
सर
हो
सर तुम्ही याच्यावरनं जॉईन केलंय, कम्प्युटरवरनं आहे की मोबाईलवरनं?
मोबाईलवरनं. हा या.
लॅपटॉपवरून जॉईन करा म्हणजे सोपं जाईल.
लॅपटॉपवरनं.
हो, सो इट विल बी इझी टू जॉईन अँड शेअर.
शेअरिंग
सर लॅपटॉप सुद्धा दुसरीकडे आहे, एक चालू आहे
इट विल
आणखी
बी
सेमिनार
5 minutes late.
त्यांच्याकडे. हा. So just take a break for
Okay.
5 minutes and then I will start. Okay.
ओके, नो प्रॉब्लेम.
ओके ओके ओके.
दुसरं एक सेमिनार चालू आहे आणखी साईडला माझ्या कॅन्डिडेट कडे आहे. हॅलो.
ओके सर.
हां, ओके सर, नो प्रॉब्लेम.
जस्ट 5 minutes. हा.
ओके.
सर पीसी वरनं करता येईल ना?
हो, करता येईल.
ओके सर. पीसी वरनं विल इट बी ओके?
येस सर पीसी वर पण करता येईल
फक्त
सर.
नेट.
हा आहे नो प्रॉब्लेम. लिंक पे कर. लिंक दे.
Please wait 5 minutes. Sir is going to adjust his camera and all other things so that after solving this problem of technical support at his end, we will immediately start this lecture within a 5 minutes. Thank you.
हा सर, तुमचा मेल सांगता का? मी तुम्हाला एक फॉरवर्ड करतो लिंक मेल khobragade@gmail.com. खोब्रागडे. ठीक आहे सर, मी याच्यावर लिंक फॉरवर्ड करतो. हाँ सर. हॅलो हॅलो. हा सर, मेल एकदा आणखी चेक करून बघा. मी पुन्हा केलाय सर, पुन्हा केलाय. ओके.
ते बंद.
हॅलो. हा
हा सर.
खोब्रागडे सर.
हा
हा, फक्त कॅमेराचं हे नीट ठेवा अँगल. समोर आडवं ठेवून द्या, म्हणजे तुम्ही दिसणार. नाही, तसंच करा. हा आता दिसत आहे.
दिसतंय.
हो.
Yeah.
येस.
Okay. So I have to share PPTs also.
आणि पीपीटी कुठे? मोबाईल वरती आहे पीपीटी?
हा, मोबाईल वरतीच आहे, ड्राईव्ह मध्ये.
अच्छा, आणि खाली त्याला आहे ऑप्शन शेअर करायचं.
हो हो.
हा, मोबाईलवरती ऑप्शन आलाय खाली शेअरचं.
जस्ट वन.
हा, इफ देर इज अ ऑप्शन ॲट द base most share screen, then you can share. You can start to talk then, sir.
जस्ट वन.
Ha, yes, you are live.
Hello.
Ha,
Sir,
sir, you are audible. Yes, sir.
Just trying to share my PPT.
Ha, okay, sir.
शेअर तर कुठं मोबाईलला असतं ना?
खाली बघा. एकदम खाली ऑप्शन आहे का?
शेअर.
शेअर तुमचं शेअर झालं की इकडे रिक्वेस्ट येईल, मी लगेच त्याला एस करतो, म्हणजे तुमचं शेअर सुरू होईल.
फार्मा. शेअर ऑप्शन येत नाही आहे सर.
हा, मोबाईलवरून ऍक्च्युअल मी पण याच्या आधी यूज नाही केला आहे स्ट्रीम यार्ड, मी लॅपटॉपवरूनच यूज करतोय.
कुठं जाईल?
खाली शेअर स्क्रीनचं येतोय का ऑप्शन? लॅपटॉपवरती खालीच असतो एकदम, जिथे आपलं माईक वगैरे आहे.
सेव्ह टू. सर मोबाईलवरनं शेअर तर असं येत नाही आहे याच्यामध्ये.
मी पण बघितलं नाही याच्या आधी.
याच्यावर येत नाही, ते होत नाहीये का?
हे शेअर कुठला आहे माहिती का? हे व्हॉट्सअपवर वगैरे शेअर करायचं असेल तर ते इथे शेअर युअर प्रेझेंट स्क्रीन असं त्या सॉफ्टवेअरवर पाहिजे.
माझा मेल कुठे आहे?
हा,
त्यांना पाठवूया. सर माझी पीपीटी तुम्हाला पाठवतोय मी, तसं करता येईल का? मी बोलतोय, तुम्ही ते हे करा मग.
चालेल चालेल चालेल. कशावर पण देऊ शकता मला, तुम्ही मेलवर देताय का?
हो हो.
तुमच्या मोबाईलवरती आयडी टाकू मी पटकन?
सांगा पटकन. हा,
मी
तुमचा ईमेल
मोबाईलवर
आयडी
देतो.
सांगा. तुमचा ईमेल आयडी सांगा.
पितांबर सॉरी आर्यन पापा. मी तुम्हाला मेसेज करतो सर. दॅट विल बी मोर बेटर.
मेसेज करा. मेसेज करा.
हाँ सर, हेलो, हाँ, am I audible, Khobragade sir? हेलो, हाँ, खोबरागडे सर, हेलो, हेलो, सर, am I audible to you? हाँ, खोबरागडे सर, हाँ,
Hello.
हाँ,
Good morning. So sorry for the inconvenience.
Yeah.
Hello.
हाँ, your screen is also shared, sir, now.
Okay, sir. Yeah. So thank you very much, Humne sir and Professor for giving me an opportunity for sharing my views on my research work specifically related to the urolithiasis, a new approach to develop anti-urolithic herbal drug. Sir, is it audible now? Hello.
Sir, yes, you are audible.
Yes, sir. हाँ,
Okay.
हाँ सर,
So shall I start now?
Yes, sir.
Hello.
yes, sir.
Yeah,
Okay, sir. Okay. So the first PPT what we are observing, this is our university administrative building. Just I am working in the SRTM University Nanded, Professor and Head Department of Biotechnology, School of Life Sciences, SRTM University Nanded. Actually, this was a project sanctioned to me by Department of Science and Technology, and what we did in this major research project. Okay, so we developed a drug, specifically the herbal drug. That drug can be used to treat the urolithiasis. So urolithiasis is a medical terminology for the kidney stone. Just sir, go for next slide. Just go for the next slide, sir. Hello. 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 Sir, hello. 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 Sir. Hello. Hello. But hello. Sir, is it audible? Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are audible.
So shall I continue?
Yeah, yes, sir. You can continue.
Sir, are you able to share the screen now? No problem.
Yeah, already it has been shared already.
Okay, no problem. Okay, sir.
Yeah,
It is already shared. Okay, sir.
Okay, sir.
So, okay. So I'm starting now. So urolithiasis, it is a medical terminology for the kidney stone. And what actually is the process is, it is nothing but the concretion of the minerals along with some crystalline and organic components in the urinary tract. So when the urine becomes supersaturated with crystalline and organic components and along with the minerals, it leads to the crystal formation, growth, aggregation, and retention within the kidney. Around 80% of kidney stone, if you have seen the composition, it is of calcium oxalate and it is mixed with the calcium phosphate, that is CFP. In addition to that, the dietary components which are insoluble and certain drugs which are prescribed by the medical practitioner, some components of the drugs are also insoluble. These insoluble components, they also help in the process of the crystallization in the urinary tract or the kidneys. So as far as the epidemiology of the kidney stone is concerned, it is highly prevalent with the rates of up to 14.8%. Now it is around 20% in developing and developed countries, which leads to sometimes morbidity and the mortality. People who reside in drought and arid regions, they suffer from the hyperabsorption of calcium oxalate, and the prevalence is now consistently increasing due to change in lifestyle, dietary habits, metabolic syndrome, and global warming. The recurrence rate, even after surgical removal, is in male it is in 70%, 70 to 80%, and in female it is 47 to 60%. Nowadays, this urolithiasis is a medical challenge due to multifactorial etiology, because several factors are responsible for the formation of the kidney stone, rate of recurrence, and we have seen that in allopathy there are limited options, because there are no medicines whatever may be available, they are not able to break the stone and to remove the stone from the urinary tract. Scientists predicted that due to the effects of global warming, there could be an increase of 1.6 to 2.2 million lifetime cases of kidney stones by 2050. So, continuously, the cases of the kidney stones are increasing, and as I said, it is a multifactorial disease. So, there are so many reasons why the formation of the kidney stone takes place. So, climate, specifically in India, North India has severely hot summer, and this gives rise to conditions of severe sweating, leading to the passage of highly concentrated urine. This leads to kidney stone. Then water intake, lack of potable water in India. This affects the people as intake of water is not proportionate to the amount of sweating. Then diet is another factor, because Indian food generally contain high amount of the spices, and some components of the spices and other stone forming elements, they are generally present in the diet. Then lack of proteins, there is no sufficient amount of protein which prevents the formation of the kidney stones. Excess dairy consumption, so dairy products, many people they use dairy products as far as Indian population is concerned. Then whatever may be chapatis we are eating, so phosphate rich wheat-based diet is also another factor. So when we consume it, it leads to the formation of the kidney stones. Then long working hours. So in brief, then obesity and diabetes is also one of the reasons. So it is one can say that there are various reasons. There is no only one reason responsible for the formation of the kidney stone. So just go through the kidney stone belt. It is a world map. So here you can see that India. So here we can observe very easily.
Sir, 1 minute, please.
Yeah.
Your screen is not visible.
Just 1 minute. It is.
Otherwise, I can share here,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you can
That will
say
be
me the
better.
next
That
one.
will be better. That
Huh?
will be better. That will be
Okay, okay.
better.
Okay. So I am sharing my screen, and
Yeah.
you can watch there, and
Yeah, yeah.
convey me which one slide I have
Yeah,
to keep.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay, sir.
So kidney stone belt, just go on kidney stone belt. That is the world map. Sir, go to the kidney stone belt world map. Next. Yeah.
Is it
So,
okay?
yeah, okay. So this is the kidney stone belt world map. So one can observe the cases of the kidney stone, and as far as the Asian countries are there, you may find so that portion. So throughout the world, one can observe the patients of the kidney stone. So it is prevalent throughout the world. So it do not discriminate geographical, cultural, or gender groups. Everywhere one can find the persons or the patients suffering from the kidney stone. Go further. So as far as India is concerned, here you can see the regions where there are maximum numbers of the persons suffering from the kidney stone. Specifically, this Rajasthan, some part of the Maharashtra, then UP side, Delhi side, one can observe the kidney stone belt. Lot of patients are there as far as urolithiasis is concerned. Go for the next one. So here, state-wise, here idea is given. Then Rajasthan, Delhi, West Bengal, Madhye Pradesh, Haryana, Gujarat, Punjab, Bihar, and Maharashtra. So as far as the Gujarat is concerned, and it is followed by Haryana, then Punjab, Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh, West Bengal, Delhi. So these are the major hotspots you can say where you can find many patients suffering from the kidney stone. So just now I told that there are various reasons because it is a multifactorial disease. But what actually is the biochemical mechanism? Because this biochemical mechanism is really responsible for the synthesis of the oxalate. So here two enzymes, that is the LDH and the glycolate oxidase. Here one can observe glyoxylate, GOX, LDH2 oxalate. Okay, so sir, you go for the next one. Hello,
Huh.
sir, go for the next one. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So this is the biochemical mechanism. Here, so look, this the biochemical mechanism which takes part in two different cell organs, that is the cytoplasm and the mitochondria. But what is important is the one pathway where there is a synthesis of the oxalate. So from glyoxylate, by the action of two enzymes, that is the glycolate oxidase and the LDH, that is lactate dehydrogenase, they are responsible for the synthesis of the oxalate. So when this oxalate combines with the calcium which is present in the body or in the serum, there is a formation of the complex, that is the calcium oxalate. And this calcium oxalate, once it is formed, it becomes highly insoluble in the body and it gets deposited in the body. So being a multifactorial disease, only glyoxylate is also not responsible. Other biochemical pathways are also responsible for the synthesis of the oxalate. But this is a major pathway where you can observe glyoxylate conversion into the oxalate. Oxalate combines with the calcium to form the calcium oxalate. Sir, go for the next one. So sources of glyoxal. Glyoxal is actually a culprit, you can say. So here one can observe the formation of the glyoxal, and with the help of the enzyme, another enzyme, that is the glyoxylate, okay, it gets converted into glycolate, glycolate to glycolate oxidase again, and LDH, okay, they convert the glyoxylate into the oxalate. Okay, so various sources are there. For example, glucose, that is the sugar, you can say, lysine, arginine. Okay, this amide rearrangement takes place between C phase, and finally, with the help of the auto-oxidation process, it is get converted into glyoxal. Then some ascorbic acid. Okay, it is also responsible for the synthesis of the glyoxal. Hexoges, pentoges, whatever maybe sugars are formed, these metabolites also get converted into the glyoxal. Then lipid peroxidation process is there, that also provides certain amount of the glyoxal. Then glycoaldehyde, these also provide certain amount of the glyoxal, and this glyoxal gets converted into glyoxylate, and finally glyoxylate gets converted into or transformed into the oxalate. Oxalate combines with the calcium to form the calcium oxalate, because the major amount or major percentage of the kidney stone is the calcium oxalate. Go for the next one, sir. Sir, go for next one. Sir, go for the next one.
Sir, yes, it is next.
Next one. Next one. So here, to understand where actually the deposition of the kidney stone takes place. So this is kidney anatomy. So this portion, that is the glomerulus, where actually the filtration takes place. Okay, here the deposition of the calcium oxalate takes place, and when it gets deposited, okay, it creates a problem. Go to next one. So there are four major events sequence of the events of mineralization. How the mineralization of the calcium oxalate takes place? Because what is the source? So biochemical pathway is there. In that biochemical pathway, just now we have seen the oxalate combines with the calcium to form the calcium oxalate, and how the stone formation takes place. So there are 7 total events, or you can say the sequence here: the HAC1, HAC2, HAC3, HAC4, HAC5, and HAC6. Okay, all these events, look here, these are the calcium oxalate small crystals. Okay, they get oriented in such a way that it forms a small nucleus. Once the nucleus is formed in the HAC6, okay, so once the nucleus is formed, through the process of the layering, there is a formation of the layer of calcium oxalate one above other, and in this way the size of the stone increases. Briefly, you can say that. Let's go for the next one. So we have seen here that is the supersaturation of the urine takes place. Once the supersaturation of the urine takes place because of the minerals, whenever there is an imbalance in the concentration of the minerals which are insoluble, the urine gets supersaturated. The nucleation process starts. So just now in the earlier transparency we have seen, PPT we have seen how the nucleation process starts. It is nothing but the layering. So 7 sequential. Once the nucleation is formed, the aggregation and the agglomeration, that is the sticking of the crystals with one another, takes place, and finally the growth takes place to form a larger size such type of kidney stone. Sir, next. So briefly here you can see the types of the kidney stone. So calcium oxalate, just now we have seen incidence 70 to 80%. The constituent is calcium oxalate, which is really a problematic one because it is highly insoluble in the living system. So this is the morphology, just like a star-like stone is there. Then another type is calcium phosphate. Hardly it is 10% calcium phosphate. This is the figure of the type of stones. Then uric acid stones are also there. Major component is the uric acid, and at around 5 to 10% only uric acid, so less percentage is there. Then struvite stones are also there, which are made up of calcium, ammonia, and phosphate. Cystine stones are there, and medication induced stones are also there. This first one, that is the calcium oxalate, really a problematic one because highly insoluble. These remaining one, these are little bit soluble, so they get easily passed calcium oxalate because this is the major component of calcium oxalate induced kidney stone. Next one, go for next one.
Yes, sir.
So where they get located in the kidney? So this is a bean shaped. Two kidneys are there, and this red portion, what here what we are observing, these are nothing but this stone. Okay, so this portion is called as the pelvis. This is a ureter, and this is a bladder. So throughout this portion, entire portion, depending on the size, okay. So this is the calyx stone, this is the pelvic stone, this is the junction, this is the ureter. So in between this tube, that is called as the ureter, this red portion indicates this mid ureteral stone. Okay. So in the bladders also sometimes the deposition of the kidney stone takes place. When such type of shape takes place, which is really a problematic one, because without surgery, this such type of stones cannot be removed. These are called as the staghorn stones. So there is no any medicine to treat such type of staghorn stone. Only surgery is the option to such for the removal of such type of stones. These bladder stones, mid-ureteral stones, pelvic stones, calyx stones, these can be treated by using a different type of medicine. Go for the next one. So what are the different treatment modalities? How the kidney stone can be managed? So different methods are there. First one is extracorporeal shockwave lithotripsy. Briefly, it is called as ESWL. Then endoscopic lithotripsy with ultrasonic or electrohydraulic or a laser port, open pyelolithotomy, and the percutaneous nephrostomy. Diuretic drugs and dietary modifications. And by using these techniques, all these techniques, the recurrence rate is 80 to 85%. Now, such type of techniques are available to treat the kidney stone. Here you observe that figure, the patient is lying here on the table, and the shock waves are generally focused on the stone. Stone get breaks, and after breaking of the stone, the when it becomes small in size, that is lesser than the size of the ureter. Ureter size is around 3 to 4 mm. When the size of the stone becomes less than the 3 to 4 mm, automatically it passes through the urinary system. So treatment, if you have seen, this is lithotripsy. Okay, so as far as these techniques are concerned, or the treatment modalities are concerned, if a person is suffering from the kidney stone and approaching the doctor, urologist or the nephrologist, the minimum expenditure to treat such type of disease is around 30 to 50,000 per patient, total, including the expenditure, medicine and all those things. Okay, so such type of treatments are available, but these treatments are beyond the reach of the poor people. So nowadays we have seen that these sir, go to background. Next PPT. Background. Again. Next. Next.
This one background drug.
Yeah, background. So these therapies are expensive and beyond the reach of the people in the third world countries. And even surgical removal, as I said, the recurrence rate, that is the reformation of the stone, even after surgical removal, it is around 85%. So once the stone is found, and if it is removed with the help of the surgeries or the techniques which I have mentioned, okay, the recurrence rate is too much. In 85% cases, there is a recurrence. So how to avoid this? Okay, so
Sir, not audible.
Okay. So calcium oxalate urolithiasis can be managed by the herbal drug. So how I develop the drug, specifically the herbal drug, to treat the urolithiasis. So here certain approaches I utilize. In that, inhibition of the calcium oxalate crystallization event, those 4 events we have seen. Can we prevent or can we avoid these events, crystallization events, or can we inhibit those crystallization events by using the herbal? Then the pathway is also responsible. So the 2 enzymes which are involved in the synthesis of the oxalate, specifically the glycolate oxidase and the lactose dehydrogenase, can we inhibit the activity of those enzymes? Because those enzymes, these 2 enzymes are responsible for the synthesis of the oxalate. And calcium oxalate is the main component of kidney stone, which is highly insoluble. So here what we did, the drug or the formulation which we have developed, okay, which was administered to the animal model. So in vivo studies, animal models, we administered that formulation. So sir, go to next one. Just previous one.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, right. So in vivo studies where suitable animal model was selected, then in those animal models, calcium oxalate stones were induced. Then we have studied the diuretic effects of the herb, that formulation, and the anti-urolithic, whether the herbal formulation which we have developed, okay, whether it is cleaving or dissociating that crystals or not. So in the first step, what here we have, you are observing the next one, sir. In vitro studies crystallization. Go to next one. Here the formulation which we have developed of 5 different herbs, the crystallization process is stopped. Okay. So this is all in vivo study, in vitro study. Whether the crystallization is induced or not, the induction of COX crystallization in whole normal human urine by adding sodium oxalate in presence of different amounts of herb extract, either untreated or green, and the red one is. So here the crystallization process is promoted, means crystals are formed. Okay, one big crystal was there. So by the lithiatic action of that formulation, small crystals are formed, and here you can observe the increase in the optical density of the solution. Then a second event was there, that is the nucleation. So nucleation is also prevented. Here percent inhibition, the formulation which we have developed, it is inhibiting the process of the nucleation. So nucleation is also prevented. Then aggregation, that is the sticking of the different particles or the crystals of the calcium oxalate with each other, so that the crystal aggregation then forms a stone. That aggregation process is also stopped by devising herbal formulation. Then aggregation is prevented. Then effect of herbal extracts on in vitro COX. So under the light microscope here we have seen, this is the control one. The crystals are there. These star-shaped crystals are there. So this, sir, next. Go for the next one.
Again next.
Next one. Yeah. Again next.
Aggregate.
Yeah. Next one. Yeah. So here what we are observing, effect of herbal extract, the formulation which we have developed, and here this is the light macroscopic figure, the first one control. This is the GIS macroscopic figure, and this is the scanning electron microscopic figure. Okay. So what we observed in these figures is that the size of the stone is decreased under light microscope. this microscopy and the scanning electron microscopy. Okay, so these are all in vitro testing, whether the formulation which we have developed is effective to reduce the size of the stone or not. So through the microscopic observation, what we have seen, there is decrease in the size of the calcium oxalate stone. Then we went for the drug designing using the computer-based software. Okay, so the plants which we have selected, what is the chemical composition of those plants? Okay, so this is also in vitro study, but here we use the computer software, and the two components which we have isolated from those plants, the major components, that is the quercetin and the camphorol. These two components were, sir, go for next one. Go for the next one. Yeah. So this is the modeling in silico drug designing. Here, glycolate oxidase, a enzyme which is responsible for the synthesis of the oxalate, and the formulation, plant formulation, extract from here we have isolated the two components, that is the quercetin and the camphorol. These two components are the compounds. They are really inhibiting the activity of the enzyme which is responsible for the formation of the stones or not. This is the study here we have did. So this is the molecular modeling study. And sir, go for the next one. Okay, so this is the bioinformatics based study, and this is the dock pose of quercetin, and in the second one, this is the dock pose of camphorol at active site of the human glycolate oxidase, and based on the dock score, because this is the software study, directly it gives a dock score, that is the binding score of the components of the herbal extract with the target, specifically the glycolate oxidase, which is responsible for the synthesis of the oxalate. So whether the interaction, proper interaction between those two components, that is the quercetin and the camphorol, binds properly to the enzyme active site or not. So based on this negative dock score, more is the negative dock score, more is the binding. So in vitro studies, that is those events, 4 events, these were inhibited, then proper binding of the components along with the binding site of the GOX, that is the glycolate oxidase takes place or not. So here this glycolate oxidase enzyme inhibition studies, because this enzyme is responsible for the synthesis of the oxalate. So whether, sir, go for the next one. Yeah. So here GOX enzyme inhibition study, the enzyme activity get inhibited. The main purpose of inhibition is that if you are able to inhibit the activity of these enzymes, you can bring under control the concentration of the oxalate. So if enzyme activity inhibited means there is no synthesis of the oxalate, because oxalate combines with the calcium to form the calcium oxalate. So our main purpose is to slow down the process, to decrease the concentration of the calcium oxalate by inhibiting the activity of these two enzymes using the chemical or the phytochemicals, you can say, that is the camphorol and the quercetin. So here compound quercetin, mode of inhibition is non-competitive type, and for camphorol it is a competitive type. Okay, so this is the Km value. Km value is the binding value, you can say, and the percent inhibition. For quercetin it is 58%, and for camphorol it is 61%. Then after the in vitro studies, we switched over to the in vivo studies, that is using the animal model. Sir, go for, yeah. So this is the animal model where we tested our formulation, whether it is effective or not, by using the ethylene glycol induced calcium oxalate stone model, that is the male vista rats we have studied. So stones were induced in the animal model using the ethylene glycol, and here animals were divided into 4 different groups. A, B. Sir, go for the next one. Sir, go to next one. Yeah. So this is the X-ray. This is the normal rat. And in B, this is the ethylene glycol in this urolithic rat, group second. This small arrow indicates the formation of the stone after 21 days. Then here, herbal formulation which we have developed, okay, it was administered to the animal model. And in the animal model, when these are treated with that herbal formulation, the stone was disappeared. So in figure C and D, there is no stone. In figure B, stone is there. In A, this is the control rat. So the X-rays was taken of the rat, and in the X-rays what we observed, the stone was totally removed. But this is not sufficient to understand whether the stone is completely removed or not. So in addition to the X-rays, okay, we have gone for certain urinary biochemical parameters. Sir, go to next one. Yeah. So this is the urinary biochemical parameter of the animal model. So overall, here what we are observing is that the concentration of the oxalate, okay, it was reduced tremendously after the treatment using herbal formulation which we have developed. Okay, so the promoting factors of the calcium oxalate stone, their values are reduced here. Go for the next one. Go for the next one, sir. Next.
Again, next.
Next. Serum biochemical parameter. Serum biochemical parameter. So just 1 minute. Previous one. Yeah. So here GOX and LDH activities, the herbal formulation which we have developed, okay, the activity of these two enzymes which are responsible for the synthesis of the calcium oxalate, okay, the activity of these enzymes is tremendously decreased or get inhibited. So this helps us to predict whether the formulation which we have developed, it is working properly or not, because this study was carried out in the animal model, specifically two enzymes GOX and LDH. Go for next one. Yeah. Then histopathological studies of the rat kidneys. This is the normal rat, then urolithic rat, and this treated one and the standard drug. So after treatment, the pathological studies indicates that the stone was clear. Go for the next one. Then the same formulation was given to the patient, those who were suffering from the kidney stone. In the Ayurvedic College of Nanded, we have studied this. Next one. Yeah. So these are the components of the formulation. Tribulus terrestris, Virginia ligulata, Boswellia serrata, Garcinia cambogia, and Acheranthus asperus. So these 5 plants were used to develop the formulation. Go for the next one. Then the formulation was given to the patient hospitalized in the government Ayurvedic College Nanded, and after 18 to 20 days of treatment, so look here, patient 1 age 60, 40, so variable age groups are there, both male and female patients were there, and before treatment, the size of the kidney stone, for example, in first one, age 60, gender male, 19 mm in right, So after the treatment for around 18 to 20 days, what we observed through the sonography. So no calculus was there. In second case also no calculus. In third case no calculus. So these results indicate that the formulation which we have developed is really effective to treat the urolithiasis. So this figure, this PPT is really useful to understand the effectiveness of the formulation which we have developed, because this study was carried out in the patients suffering from the urolithiasis or the kidney stone. Go for the next one, sir. So finally, we signed an MOU with the pharmaceutical industry and developed a product of that formulation. That product or the medicine which we have developed after the approval of the Food and Drug Administration Government of Maharashtra. Name of that product is the Disocal tablet. This one bottle contains 60 tablets. So this is the FDA approved and patented. We got the patent also based on our study. Patent is already granted. So Disocal, one bottle contains 60 tablets. It is now commercially available in the market throughout Maharashtra and other than Maharashtra states also. Now, this is very interesting study. Oxalobacter parmesan. This Oxalobacter parmesan, which is present inside the human body, okay, it utilizes oxalate as their food. Persons having maximum number of Oxalobacter parmesan, these microorganisms in the body, they don't have a problem of this stone, because these Oxalobacter parmesan, these bacteria, okay, they consume oxalate as their food. So the formulation which we have developed, whether they are killing these bacteria or not, this was the purpose. So here what we observed, there is no zone of inhibition recorded by using our formula. There is no any effect of formulation which we have developed on the survival of the Oxalobacter parmesan bacteria. No zone of inhibition is recorded. This indicates that our drug is safe. So based on this experimental study, let us go for the next one. So we have explored the role of glycolate oxidase, which is playing key role in the production of oxalate and is also responsible for the recurrence of kidney stones after surgical removal of the stone. A polyherbal formulation is screened against the glycolate oxidase inhibition and found promising in the control of oxalate production with no side effects in the calculated dose. This is the novel approach that we have proposed, which is unique in comparison with the other marketed formulation used in the management of kidney stone. It can be an option for surgical removal of kidney stone and lithotripsy procedures, which are practiced in modern system of medicine. Go for the next one. Sir, next one.
Again, next.
Yeah. Go to the conclusion now. So, in view of the limitations of the modern drug therapy and surgical interventions like cost of treatment and maximum chances of recurrence, the present traditional medicine can be recommended to the sufferer as an effective treatment modality. So, the formulation, which is finally transformed into the form of a tablet named Disocal, these Disocal tablets, if these are administered to the patient, person suffering from the kidney stone, so depending on the age, size of stone and the location of the stone, a dose is decided based on this. Okay, if it is given within a month or two, patient suffering from the kidney stone, okay, can be cured. So stone is actually totally removed after treatment by using our product. Don't think that this is the advertising of the product. It is not advertising, but this is the research Okay, so based on this research, we have 3 patents and 3 publications based on the experimental data. So thank you, sir, for giving an opportunity. Just this is in brief I have explained, because a lot of data is there, but that entire data cannot be shown here. The important PPTs here I have shown. So if we have any queries, you can ask. I am free to answer. Questions will be welcome. I will be happy to answer those questions. Thank you very much.
Hello, everyone, participants.
Yeah.
Anyone if have the question, you can ask your questions or the queries regarding that kidney stone and its
Queries are
herbal
welcome.
treatment, which are the outputs of research from us, sir. So please, anyone if have the question, kindly comment so that sir will answer you. Sir, are you able to read the question?
Yeah. No. Just they can ask. Yeah. Just you can read and tell me. I will.
Okay. What is the size of crystal after discovering by the drug? Sorry, what is the size of crystal after dissolving by the drug?
Actually, these calcium oxalate stones are not soluble. So our drug is not soluble as in the crystal. Actually, it is breaking. So when the size of the crystal becomes less than 3 to 4 mm, then it gets removed automatically. Because the diameter of the ureter is 3 to 4 mm. If the size is bigger than that of the stone or the crystal, it gets deposited. So once the size becomes less than 3 to 4 mm, automatically it can be removed.
Again, anyone would like to ask the question regarding the presentation of sir? Please comment. Any side effects of studies, sir?
The toxicity already we have studied, but there are no major side effects. Sir. These pathological slides we have seen, so there is no major side effect.
Again, anyone who would like to ask the question? Okay. The question has stopped to ask.
Okay.
On behalf of Botany for You, an online platform for the students of life sciences, myself, Dr. Pitambar Humne, founder Botany for You, and associate professor and head department of Botany, Dharampet MPDev Memorial Science College, Nagpur, express my deep gratitude to today's guest speaker, Professor C.N. Khobragade sir, professor and head department of Biotechnology, School of Life Sciences, Swami Ramananda Tirtha Marathwada University, Nanded, for giving his valuable time for his lecture in this international webinar. I am very much grateful for you for your guidance in the subject, and I am sure students, researchers, and faculties in life sciences will definitely get advantage of your lecture, sir. Thank you very much for your guidance and gracious presence and bright and lucid great lecture on this online platform for the student of life sciences. Botany for You. This is actually the information that you have provided, which is very much useful to the researchers in the field of microbiology or biotechnology, and even to the general public, as it is related to the particular disease. And many of the people are suffering from the kidney stone, and everyone knows who is suffering how the painful is. And because of the continuous research and hard working of the Khobragade sir, that the formulation has come up in the form of the medicine. This is a great achievement, and which is also patented. And I congratulate for this one to Khobragade sir. And thank you very much for sparing such a time and sharing this all the research activities of you with our audience as well as all the participants of this international webinar. Thank you very much, sir.
it's my pleasure to. Hello.
Sir, you are audible.
Thank you very much, sir. It's my pleasure to help you people. Okay. So this is a very good activity you are carrying out.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Dear participants, I would like to share with you that just now we have received a confirmation from Laszlo Zabdos from Hungary, who is a group leader, Arabidopsis Molecular Genetics Laboratory, Institute of Plant Sciences, Biological Research Center, Hungary Academy of Sciences, Szeged, Hungary, and he will be sharing his lecture by tomorrow. The topic will be shared with you on our Telegram group. And we will occupy this guest speaker from Hungary in a third position, so that our fourth speaker, that is Girish Kumar Rasineni, so he has given his lecture in the form of the recorded, so that we will upload it on our YouTube, so that everyone will join tomorrow's session. And thank you very much for your all comments and joining and registration, as well as kind cooperation in this international webinar and inaugural function of National Teachers Organization in Life Sciences, organized by Botany for You, an online platform for the students of life sciences. Thank you very much all. Goodbye. हाँ दीपक, हाँ अभी हो गया, उधर ब्रॉडकास्ट बंद कर दिया, आता आपण बोलू.
ओके.
मी ऑफ करून दिलं, मी एकदा चेक करतो याच्यावर युट्यूबवर.
हां.
Okay, let's out from this one. Okay.
Okay.